This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. We try and bring you short business episodes, short private equity episodes, interviews with brilliant business and private equity colleagues. Our goal is for you to learn something and also to have a laugh, to enjoy yourself, to really hit those two different goals. Today's discussions with David Pivnick. I've learned so much from. He was a valedictorian in law school. He's a partner at McGuireWoods. We're going to talk today about the importance of celebrating victories and celebrating life moments. The concept being in any business, in any team, in any family, quite frankly, you better take time to celebrate things, to stay and to keep morale up, to keep moving in the right direction. And David, I want your take on this because you're a person who I've learned so much from. When David talks about being valedictorian, he doesn't talk about utter genius. What he talks about is never taking a day off. So I'm trying to understand, when you fit that in, did you find ways to celebrate success? And how important is it to celebrate success? I'll talk about in business and family and sports. How important is that method, that effort to celebrate some of those successes? David?
Yeah, Scott, appreciate you having me on and the kind words. I do think that celebrating successes and taking a moment to appreciate accomplishments is critically important, and it's something that drives me day to day. I spend a lot of my life thinking about upcoming family events or occasions or vacations, but I do that to schedule things ahead so that I have goalposts, mile markers ahead of me to work towards and keep me driven day to day. But when I'm going through the day-to-day grind and working, and I generally speaking enjoy what I do for a living and think I'm fortunate in that regard, but there are certainly some tough days and challenges as well. I think it's really important to take those moments and celebrate, and not just to celebrate internally, but to incorporate others. So making sure that, your family, my wife, my kids, who lose a lot of my time to work and to other commitments that I have, get to participate in those celebrations, taking out my team if we win a big case, whether it's, for drinks or for dinner, but doing something to mark that milestone. I think it's critical from a sort of self-care and mental health perspective, but I think it's also good, for team building and showing the people that you trust and that you're working with day to day or living with day to day. It's also important with family that they're part of the bigger picture, part of your life, and that it's important that they feel the wins as well. So I think it's critically important. I routinely take time to celebrate wins or milestones, and to me, it's one of the main drivers of my day to day. And I wasn't different from that even in law school, which now feels like many years ago. But taking time to celebrate with Illini wins or going out on campus, et cetera, in law school after great news was worthwhile. And similarly, finding out where I ranked in the class and having a celebratory drink with my then girlfriend, now wife, but also taking a few moments to just digest and soak it in was important and was part of what I appreciated about that accomplishment.
And you do a tremendous job, about better than almost anybody I know, at managing their time so you could do great professional work and also take some time for celebration and family things and other sort of endeavors. And what do you attribute that time management to, that ability to find that balance? Any advice you have to people on that? Because I see you doing an exceptional job of being really available professionally and doing a great job professionally. And then, quite frankly, quite available for other endeavors too. You maintain a close group of friends, a fantastic family. You seem to balance it well. Any time management advice on how you do that and how that works?
Yes. I mean, sadly, I think some of it is years of procrastination paid off. That A, I procrastinate less often now, and B, when I put my nose to it, I'm very efficient and hardworking. But I think the main answer, honestly, is I do a pretty good job week to week and month to month of planning out what my next week, what my next 30 days are going to look like, understanding what personal events and obligations I have that I need to plan around, but also thinking about work-wise. And so, where I get thrown for a loop is when a new case comes in that's unexpected, and it's an emergency injunction or something else that's sort of emergent in nature and is going to require a concentrated amount of time in a short time period, that's where things get more challenging. But day to day, I'm looking pretty far, not far way out in the future, but a week and a month at a time. I'm constantly thinking about my personal and professional obligations, how I'm going to fit them in, and trying to really think about, as attorneys, we work in hour increments, trying to think about how many hours things are going to take me. And one of my skills that I've worked at over the years, but I think I'm very good at, is budgeting my time, understanding how long things are going to take, and then working with that in mind, so I can plan my schedule and have a pretty good sense of what's required to fit everything in. And I think I'm more efficient than the average, so I'm able to get things done within those timeframes and do it, pretty contained very regularly.
And if you're going to take the time to celebrate the victories in family and in business and in life, and to work professionally at the level that you work at, you run some of the most complex litigation at the law firm at McGuireWoods, which is a huge. So if you're going to do that, act at the highest level professionally, and be able to celebrate the victories and spend time with family and friends, you need to be great at time management. I mean, they work together. People that aren't great at time management might celebrate hard, but then find a very hard time getting going again on the next project, the next effort. Take a second on the motivation to get going again after victories or losses, quite frankly. But, a lot of people view it, they were valedictorian. And I take it most people that were valedictorian view it as that's just a starting point in professional success. I certainly knew many people that went to Harvard that viewed that as the end all versus the starting point. And those people that viewed it as the end all weren't very successful professionally. Those that viewed it as, okay, this is just a starting point for my career, going to Harvard Law School, Harvard Business School, wherever it is, did much, much better over the long run. How do you constantly find that energy to get going for the next effort, the next case, the next task, whatever it might be?
I think there's a few things. Like the first thing is I am inherently, as I know you appreciate more than most, knowing me all these years, I'm an inherently competitive and fairly self-motivated person. So I get up in the morning every day and I know what I have to accomplish, and particularly in litigation where on every case, I take most matters probably more personally than I should. I do the work appropriately for the clients, but I care deeply, and I want to win for my clients every single day. And so part of it is just being driven and self-motivated and competitive, frankly, so that every single day I don't want to take a minute off. Same thing I've said to you about law school before. I don't want to take a minute off day to day at work. I don't want to give one away, not a motion, not a brief, not anything. I want to win. And so that keeps me going. But the second thing is, it loops back to, your prior comments, prior question about celebrations. And I sort of work hard so that I can play hard. And so I think about different activities, different celebrations, things I want to do, travel with my wife and kids. And I know that I have to work hard to earn that. And that's how I view it, truly, that I work hard and earn those celebrations. But that means I have to meet my obligations on the work hard and success part of it. And the other thing, which I don't think should be lost in it, is I'm surrounded, fortunately, with good people who both keep me fairly humble, but also, keep me leveled. I've heard my wife say on more than one occasion, half tongue in cheek, that, she appreciates that I graduated top of my class in law school, but why don't I make more money now? And I do just fine, but she likes to keep me motivated as well. And I've worked with and been friends with people like you, who I remember vividly when I made Income Partner. You immediately said to me, congratulations, you deserve this, it's well earned, but this is just the start of the actual ball game. Now you got to work twice as hard to get to the next level. And I really appreciated that, because it was a great level set, frankly, that something I'd been working hard for many years was important, and it was an accomplishment, but it was just one accomplishment along the way, and not the biggest. And it was something I hadn't really thought about, but it was something you said, and frankly, someone else you've spent many years working with and mentoring, Amber Walsh, said the exact same thing to me, and it resonated. It's something I still remember now, and it's, advice, I think, wisdom that I've given to some of our more junior colleagues as well.
One of the things I've noticed about you is you're able to get yourself motivated for the big competitions and the small competitions, And I will say this tongue in cheek for a second, and bear with me, our audience. Now, I give up almost 2 decades to David. He's almost 2 decades younger. But every once in a while, especially back in the day, I've had knee surgery since, we'd have firm events. And you would think an athlete that's 2 decades younger than me, if we're going to have a sprint, a race, that younger athlete would give me a handicap of some sort and so forth. But David's not wired like that. David's not wired like that. He decided to just take it to me, barely scratching out a victory in a sprint against me. But it's just an example of that competitive drive, whether it's the hugest billion-dollar case or a 30-yard sprint against somebody 2 decades older than him. The kid, the brilliant, the valedictorian, brings it all every single day. David, thank you for joining us again on the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast, and keep doing what you're doing, celebrating, manage your time, finding that motivation, that competitive drive. I'll be back. Thank you for joining us on the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Scott. I appreciate it.